Take it there, who gon' take it there, who gon' take it there, who gon' take it there? Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air. It's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility.
So I want to talk some more about Andrew Schulz. People are buzzing about him right now. He's a comedian, sort of on the right-wing, edgy style of comedian. He likes doing race jokes. He likes doing anti-woke jokes. He doesn't like the woke. He doesn't like Democrats. He shits on Democrats. He thinks Republicans are cool. He thinks being a Republican is cool. He thinks Trump is cool. He thinks Steve Bannon is cool. He thinks Megyn Kelly is cool. But he's in the middle. He's not right-wing. He just thinks everything that right-wingers do is cool, and he thinks that the stuff they say is cool, and he justifies the things they say and do, and he makes jokes in favor of those things that they say and do. And I'm sure he teases a little bit as well, but most of the jokes that I've heard from him have been aimed at those with less power. And usually his commentary on people in power is glazing them, hyping them up, or like I said, making excuses for them or complaining that they're not right-wing enough. So I've talked a little bit about his previous comments about how being a Republican or being MAGA is masculine. He also was in some headlines a little while back for kind of going back and forth with Kendrick Lamar, although Kendrick Lamar never said his name. It seemed clear that Kendrick mentioned him in a lyric on his album GNX. Andrew Schulz responded by making some incredibly weird comments about it, which actually ties into what I want to talk about involving him today, because he went on Megyn Kelly recently, and the reason everybody's talking about him right now is because apparently he's going to go on Shannon Sharpe's podcast. I don't think he has yet. I think that'll probably come out today, or I don't know, sometime in the next couple days or something. Maybe it's out already, but I don't think so. And so there's some people who are excited that he's going to go on Shannon Sharpe's podcast. Shannon Sharpe famously had Cat Williams on his podcast, and Cat Williams went viral for shitting on a bunch of other comedians in that interview. And so it seems like Shannon Sharpe wants that to be his MO going forward, or he at least recognizes the monetary and cultural currency value of having a comedian on to come and dish out a bunch of hot takes. But people are a little upset that he's going to have Andrew Schulz on there because, you know, Andrew Schultz's standing is questionable at best at the moment, considering his weird comments about Kendrick Lamar. Now, to be fair, Andrew Schulz has a large audience, so I'm sure there are many, many people who want to hear from him, want to hear him on the Shannon Sharpe podcast. I don't think it's that big of a contingent of people that were upset by the things that he said about Kendrick Lamar or other things. But his comments about Kendrick played into this like domination thing. This guy seems to have a weird domination thing. And I don't want to get too far into that because it's weird. I'm not Sigmund Freud, and, you know, I'm not equipped to like fully psychoanalyze this guy. I like psychoanalyzing people, but I mean, if we're going to get into like domination fetishes and stuff, I'm going to, you know, pass on getting too much into all of that. But I think there's something interesting about this right-wing tear that Andrew Schulz is doing, because it consistently touches on this point of being masculine and dominant, and that is what he talked to Megyn Kelly about. I think the whole theme of this podcast that they did together was, you know, why Trump dominates. He dominates media, he dominates culture, he dominates politics, blah, 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 blah. And that's reflected a little bit in this clip from the show. So let me play this clip real quick, and then we'll talk a little about that.
It's like Trump saying we're going to take Greenland. It's kind of fun.
Right.
I like that shit.
Gulf
That's
of
the
America,
energy
I
I'm
like
on.
it.
Hell yeah. Like Gulf of America, I don't care. Why was it ever Gulf of Mexico?
I know, we're so much bigger than they are.
Right? Matter of fact, they could still call it Gulf of Mexico. We don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, but that's the energy that we need. Americans love abundance.
Yeah.
You need to sell us on abundance.
No, wait, aren't you the guy? You're the one who said this to me, and I've quoted you on it many times on how the moment Trump won you over was when he took the guy from Montenegro by the shoulder and was like, to the back.
Wait, which one?
When he was over at like the G7 or the G18.
I loved it.
And he shoved that guy.
Why am I in the back?
Right.
Why this?
I'm America.
Nobody even understands what this country is, this guy in the front. Move out of the way. I will sit here. And then he did it and everybody got in line. It happens. You need that kind of, that is some like psychotic shit. I don't think I would have the balls to do that. That is some ballsy
Montenegro's
shit.
in the back, sir.
Bye. See you later. You're all in the back. It doesn't really matter.
Right, everyone.
If I'm giving you money, you're in the back.
Yes.
Are you guys giving me money? So why are you in the front? Right? It's like...
Well, that's part of his like weirdly
It's unbelievably charming.
So in this clip, he says a number of interesting things, some very stupid things. The first thing he says is that when Trump says this stuff about taking Greenland or the Gulf of America versus the Gulf of Mexico, Schulz thinks it's fun. He didn't say he thinks it's funny. He says he thinks it's fun. So that's interesting. If somebody told me they think it's funny, I would at least sort of know where their head is at when they say that. When he says he thinks it's fun, I think that indicates something else. I think that indicates a level of participation, right? He feels a part of this rhetoric of Trump's and this power trip that Trump is going on. He feels like he's along for the ride, and he likes that. So that's telling in and of itself, right? I mean, not only does he like the dominating aspect of Donald Trump, no matter how stupid it is, by the way. That's something that's important to remember about this whole domination angle, is that the reason America has not been this like, oh, I'm going to dominate you, I'm going to take all of your rare earth minerals, I'm going to force you to do what I say. The reason America does not openly behave that way on the national stage historically, even though it does have the power to. America does have the power and leverage to treat people and countries that way if we want to. The reason we don't is because it actually makes us weaker to do so. It makes us look weak, it makes us look bad, and it makes it so that other countries don't want to do business with us, and they don't want to rely on us, and they don't want to have mutual relationships with us. So if you're stupid and you don't really think about America's place in the world, or how anything works, or how any of the abundance, which he also mentions in this clip, how any of that actually happens, then the appeal of a guy like Trump, who just tells you there's going to be abundance because we're going to make there be abundance, and the people who have abundance, we're going to go there and get it, and we're going to tell them they have no choice but to give us the abundance because we want the abundance and we're America. If you're dumb, that logic makes sense. If you're not dumb, then you've recognized that in some way America already does that and has already done that. And the sort of international order, the delicate international order that exists, is based on the calculations that have been made over time about where it's worth it for America to use its leverage and where it's not. So Trump's foreign policy opens up a lot of interesting questions about what America's foreign policy should be, right? So let's take NATO as an example. So Trump wants to end NATO pretty much from a pro-Russian perspective. And, you know, I think it's fair to say Trump wants to end NATO. He hasn't said that recently. He basically said as much leading up to the 2016 election. I'm sure he said similar things on the campaign trail this time around. So I don't think he's explicitly calling for the end of NATO, but that's effectively what he's getting at. And Trump has pretty consistently angled at that the entire time he's been in politics. So most people rightly point out that that is a pro-Russian angle. Not only, there's other stuff going on there, but in the context of Russia expanding its territory into Ukraine, trying to take Ukraine back, trying to reassert itself as a military power to be reckoned with. The idea of ending NATO, first and foremost, serves to embolden a nation like Russia against the existing international order. So the question arises of like, Trump breaks up the international order. He shakes things up. Okay, great. What happens then? Because it's easy to say that it's a good thing. America's in all these bad deals. We're getting taken advantage of, blah, blah, blah. It's interesting that literally nobody has ever gone around saying that until Donald Trump. I just think that's interesting that was not a mainstream or even marginal narrative in any corner of US media until Trump came into power. And now it's just that's the logic that we are running our entire government off of. And even Andrew Schulz mentions it here when he references that time Trump pushed another world leader out of his way at some global summit. At the time, this was a big deal. If Trump did that now, everybody would be used to it at this point. But he said, I'm paying you, you're not paying me, so you can get out of my way. It's a reference to this Trumpian transactional way of looking at global politics. It's also just dumb. It's a caveman's way of looking at any type of international order. And it's the way you talk about it when you actually don't have any concept of who's paying who, in what way, what does it matter, who's benefiting, what is the actual balance that exists here. And what these bozos don't seem to realize is that the reason America does these transactional things and cuts deals essentially with different countries is because we buy loyalty from them by doing that. We buy fealty from them. It's soft power. If other countries are dependent on us and our economy, guess what? They're going to do what we say. And if we take that away, then we have no leverage. If we put a price on things that they can't pay, they're going to go somewhere else, and we have no leverage. So that might be great for now with this like fantasy of independence and sovereignty or whatever. America first. But it's just going to lead to America being a weaker nation because we're not going to be intertwined with the economies of other nations in the world. Important, powerful nations. And so again, I mean, the idea of like the global order, the anti-Russian global hegemony being reoriented is not something that I see as inherently a bad thing. I think currently allowing Vladimir Putin to have victories in Ukraine and advance further is a bad thing, pretty straightforwardly. But Andrew Schulz seems to think that by bullying people like Zelensky and pushing people around because they don't have the cards or because they do have the cards or whatever the fuck, that is not only effective leadership, it's exciting, it's fun. And he views it as a genuine show of strength. So, I mean, the main takeaway here for me is just how little thought is going into this political analysis. And I mean, these are people who they are engaging with this on a very visceral level. It's almost physical for them. This display of masculinity, this display of strength and power, it doesn't have to go any deeper than what you see on TV. It doesn't have to go any deeper than entertainment and shouting matches. There doesn't have to be a deeper logic to it. Because as long as Trump is displaying some form of masculinity or dominance that Andrew Schulz feels like gives him cover to behave that same way in his own life, then Andrew Schulz will make justifications for it. It literally doesn't matter what happens. Trump could get us into wars. He could wreck the economy. He's well on his way to doing both of those things. Absolutely violating the rights of people in America for their free speech. And all of that, none of that matters. all that matters is that he continues to play this caricature. It's like it's the full realization of the TV president. Literally all that these people want is somebody who goes on TV and entertains them. And I genuinely think somebody like Andrew Schulz feels safer in a world where Donald Trump is able to behave that way and not be questioned for it, and where Donald Trump is in control of the situation, because that signals to Andrew Schulz that he can dominate people in his life. He can be as dominating and as bullying of a force in the world as he wants. And as long as there's nobody bigger than him to stop him, then he was going to be able to succeed by doing that. That's what Trump signals to people, is that this bullish bullying, never backing down no matter how wrong you are, using all of the dirtiest tricks in the book, and shitting on people who are your friends. You know what I mean? Like, Trump is famous for this, by the way, for backstabbing people. So we're not just talking about somebody who's like, he gets his way no matter what. Like, this is a sadistic person. He enjoys being cruel. And in people like Schulz and many other Trump voters out there and viewers of Trump media or whatever, that's appealing. There's an appetite for that type of behavior. I just think it's interesting that these guys are doing more to tear up the social fabric and Western global hegemony than any anti-Western forces have done. The Trump movement is doing more to weaken the West than every Palestine protest that has taken place globally combined. It's just fascinating. I think it's interesting because all they have to do is put an American flag sticker on it. All they got to do is play the patriot, and they can literally destroy the contract, the global contract that has made America the most powerful nation in the world. And so I just think that's funny. And I guess that's all we ever had to do. If we wanted to see, degrowth of the American economy, or for imperialism of America, the imperialistic hegemony of America globally to crumble and wither, all we had to do was make opposition to America's global power in general seem patriotic, and it's getting the job done. So obviously I'm kidding, because I don't think most of these things are going anywhere good. But I do genuinely think it's interesting that these guys have done more damage to America's image and ability to participate in the global economy than any anti-American or anti-Western forces. And they're too dumb to realize it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you really want to support, consider becoming a member. That's the best way to support this channel. I'm going to be posting all kinds of exclusive content there, like movie reviews, book reviews, music, songs. If you like the beats that play in the back of these podcasts, all of that's posted there. Plus more. If there's stuff you'd like to see as exclusive content, let me know and we'll try some things out.